Kagurashi was an ugly loner who became homeless at a young age after getting possessed by a spirit. In search of a place, he ends up at a haunted inn with lots of beautiful girls ready to date him. One evening, a guy happily screams on top of a hill that he is happy to be finally in Yukamiri town where he is going to start his new life and rushes towards it. Meanwhile, an old couple is telling a man about a woman with a completely smooth face without any facial features, but surprisingly the man turns around, scaring the old couple. Fortunately, the guy from before pulls out a Uno reverse, sending him flying with a punch. The guy then introduces himself as Kagurashi Fuyuzora, a hands-on psychic. The elder couple thanks him as he leaves, but he suddenly asks them about the directions of Yuragi Inn. After reaching the inn, Kagurashi reveals that the inn is super cheap as its rent is only 1,000 yen a month and 15,000 yen for the whole month's food. The elderly couple shows their concern as the place sure is cheap, but the inn is haunted. Yuragi Inn is a traditional inn, but long ago a student's corpse was found there, and it is said that the ghost of that student still resides there. The elderly couple wonders if he already knows more about the place than why he is going there. But it looks like Kagurashi is confident in his punch. Dude thinks he is the mixture of Saitama and Ghostbusters. Back at the inn, Kagurashi is happy to finally be in a hot bath. As he is enjoying the bath, he suddenly hears someone joining him. Kagurashi somehow knows that it's a ghost. As he prepares to confront the ghost, he is shocked to see that it's just a cute white-haired girl. She gets all nervous and suddenly starts floating, indicating that she's definitely a ghost. Kagurashi sees something extraordinary that others can only dream about. When the girl realizes that Kagurashi can see her, she gets angry and starts throwing buckets at him, hitting him and causing him to pass out. Afterwards, Kagurashi opens his eyes and finds himself on the innkeeper Chidos's lap. Suddenly, a pink-haired drunk lady enters the room. The lady offers Kagurashi to have a drink as well, but Chidos tells her not to. The girl gets closer and introduces herself as Arahabaki Nanko, but Kagurashi gets all shy until another girl throws a kunai at him. The girl also introduces herself as Amino Senjiri and threatens to punish him if he breaks any rule of their inn. Suddenly, Yae Fushiguro, the cat girl of the show, also comes out from Kagurashi's blanket and starts licking his wound. The girls then gather around Kagurashi and ask him about his room number, but when he reveals that he is staying at room number 4, the girls leave him, saying that it was nice knowing him. Looks like my boy is going to die before getting himself a harem. Later, he gets into his room where he sees someone back sticking out of the wall. Kagurashi knows that it's the ghost from before, so he pulls her out, but the ghost is embarrassed and reveals that she is trying to hide. The ghost then introduces herself as Yunohana Yuuna, a ghost bound to Yuragi Inn. Kagurashi reveals that he is a psychic exorcist and can see her. Later at night, Yuuna asks Kagurashi what he is doing at the inn, to which he reveals that in the past he used to be possessed by different spirits as a kid and caused problems for the people around him. In the end, he was possessed by a day trader, and because of this he became homeless. So, in order to become normal, he became an apprentice to a medium. Yuuna then reveals that she's been lonely for a very long time and thanks Kagurashi for being at the inn. Suddenly, Yuuna gets scared because of the mouse and causes Kagurashi to float, but both of them end up in an awkward position, causing Yuuna to throw Kagurashi out of the window. The next day, Kagurashi wakes up feeling pretty good. After all, he's managed to snag a job and a place to crash. But on his way home, he gets this weird vibe. Back at the house, Yuuna's lost in her thoughts about their last chat, when out of nowhere, this monk dude shows up and goes after her. He's from the Gyudon clan and boasts about how he's going to send her off to heaven with his mad monk skills. Kagurashi gets there too, but he just watches from the sidelines, thinking maybe it's for the best if Yuuna gets sent on her way before she turns into a nasty spirit. But then Yuuna speaks up, telling the monk she's not ready to leave as she wants to hang out more with Kagurashi. That's when the monk cranks up his exorcism power, but Kagurashi is not having it. He jumps in and puts a stop to the whole thing. After knowing that Kagurashi is also a medium, he wonders why he still hasn't exorcised her, to which he punches him and tells that he can exorcise anyone with his punch. Watching this, Kagurashi accidentally holds Yuuna's treasure and she throws him into the girl's hot bath. The following morning, when Kagurashi wakes up, the first thing he sees is the beautiful Yuuna sleeping on him in a really weird way, but he realizes something is wrong as there is a bird flying nearby and he is surrounded by huge pillows. He soon realizes that he is not in heaven but is going there when he sees that he is floating several meters above the ground level due to Yuuna's powers. Suddenly, Yuuna wakes up and, upon realizing the peculiar situation, ends up throwing Kagurashi down. After the morning struggle, the two of them head out to have their breakfast, with Yuuna apologizing for the mishap that happened before. As they are going to eat, they bump into Sejiri and Nanko. Sejiri feels really sorry for not being there to help Yuuna when she was in a bit of a bind with Kagurashi. But Yuuna lets her know she's got the wrong idea. It wasn't Kagurashi's fault at all. Despite that, Sejiri still gives Kagurashi a warning to not get too close to Yuuna. Kagurashi wonders how the other residents can see Yuuna as a girl instead of a mere ghostly figure. He's curious if maybe they're ghosts too, but Nanko jokingly says she can't be a ghost because she has legs. But then Yuna points out she has legs too. To clear up the confusion, Nanko gets closer to Kagurashi and buries his lucky head into her treasure, which proves she's definitely not a ghost. I hate to say it, even though Nanko looks like Sakura, but she is the better version of her. Out of nowhere, Chitos shows up and tells Kagurashi that she will be the one to make his dinner. She also gives him a bit of a warning, saying she's okay with waiting for the breakfast money until the month's end. But if he can't pay up, she won't be serving him any food. During breakfast, Yaya pops up from under the table, and Kagurashi can't believe his eyes when he sees her ears and tail. He's curious and starts to ask the girls about who they really are, but suddenly there's a loud noise outside the inn. It turns out the same monk from before is back, and this time he's brought a bunch of other monks with him, all of them looking for payback against Kagurashi and Yuna. The other monks seem to hesitate a bit since they do not want to hurt the girls, but when they hear they are free to do as they please, they charge and ready to attack. Kagurashi jumps into action, telling the girls to stay out of sight while he deals with the monks himself. The girls just chuckle and tell Kagurashi there's no need for him to worry as they have things under control. Sajiri is a demon slayer, and she's got some pretty amazing moves. Nanko becomes stronger with every sip she takes, and right now, she's feeling pretty mighty. Yaya, on the other hand, has a cat god inside her, and she's all about having fun and playing around with everyone. And then there's Chitos, who's like a walking, talking lucky charm, spreading good fortune wherever she goes. Chitos works her magic, and suddenly, the monk's luck starts to change in wild ways. Their phones start ringing off the hook. One's won the lottery, another's just landed a dream job, and yet another finds out about a huge inheritance coming his way. As for their leader, he gets the most important call of all. His daughter's on the line, asking him to come back home. Now Kagurashi sees the full picture. He's in the company of some seriously powerful ladies. Each one of them has a unique strength, and he understands that if he's not careful, he could easily find himself in over his head. The following night, he wakes up with massive buns on his face, but soon Yuna realizes and sends the poor guy flying. As they're heading out to grab some breakfast, Yuna keeps apologizing for the mishap earlier. On their way, they spot an adorable cat in the hallway. Kagurashi just can't help himself and goes to pet it. But the loser didn't know that it's actually Yaya who roaming around in the cat form. To make things even more awkward, Sajiri catches Kagurashi in the act, mistaking his friendly gesture for something more else. Both Yaya and Sajiri are pretty upset and they go straight to Chitos to complain. They want Kagurashi kicked out from the property, but Chitos tells them that in order to make this happen, they have to decide with the inn's rules. One of these rules is about a game of ping pong where the winner gets to call the shots. They can order or make a request and the loser team has just to follow them. As they kick off the game, Kagurashi nails the first point like a pro. Turns out, he got moves from then time when a professional ping pong coach's ghost took over him. The girls decide not to play by the rules and start using their special powers to tip the scales. Yuna does not want Kagurashi to be at a disadvantage, so she jumps in with her own ghostly skills to back him up. As she does, she's hit with memories of all the goofy and uncomfortable situations that happened between them. As the game goes on, Yuna gets used to all these weird memories popping up. But when it looks like they're gonna lose, she pulls a bold move. She lifts her skirt to stir up some shock and kick her powers into high gear, which turns the game around and they win. The girls promise not to mess with Kagurashi again. But Kagurashi, instead of being careful, slips and accidentally end up grabbing some soft talents. Not gonna lie, these are the only accidents I want in my life. The following morning, Kagurashi wakes up and sees Yuna all over him again. Kagurashi tries to sneak out, but Yuna wakes up, and after finding herself in a weird position with Kagurashi, she gets all embarrassed and sends poor Kagurashi flying through the window. Afterwards, while Chitos is preparing breakfast for everyone, the duo can be seen entering the kitchen. Kagurashi asks Chitos if he can be of any help, to which she asks him to call for everyone as the breakfast is about to be ready. At first, Kagurashi and Yuna visit Nanko's room to wake her up, but it seems like she was already awake. Nanko tries to riz Kagurashi, so he asks Yuna to tie her up, but the dumb girl ends up tying both of them together. Afterwards, the duo goes to find Sajiri, who is meditating in a forest under the waterfall. Seeing her clothes, Kagurashi decides to leave. However, fate has something else written when she hears his footsteps and beats him up for seeing her. Finally, they find Yaya on the rooftop, but Kagurashi ends up falling down because of Yuna. Later, everyone in the inn is having breakfast together. Watching this, Kagurashi feels happier, but the happy hour doesn't stay much longer when Yuna somehow ends up on his face and sends everyone flying with her powers. After breakfast, Kagurashi and Yuna go out for a walk. While on their way, they come across a cherry blossom tree, to which Kagurashi expresses his wish to be able to see cherry blossoms, as he spent his childhood going through life-threatening training. Listening to this, Yuuna runs back to the inn and meets Chitos. Later, when Kagurashi arrives back, he is shocked to find an empty inn. He looks around until he finds Yae's cat, who takes him deep into the forest where he encounters a beautiful cherry blossom tree and other inn members. Yuuna appears and informs him that they have arranged a welcome party for him. One morning, Yuuna wakes up feeling like a princess, but notices that Kagurashi is not in the room. She starts to worry, thinking he might have left because he didn't want to stay with her anymore. While searching, Chitos calms her down, explaining that Kagurashi has just gone to his first day of high school. As Kagurashi stands outside his school, he remembers how tough school used to be with all the ghosts around. But now, since he can banish them, studying will be easier. Suddenly, Yuuna surprises him, saying she was bored and decided to visit him at school. At first, Kagurashi feels unsure, but then he remembers that only he can see Yuuna, so he agrees. They walk together, chatting happily as Kagurashi heads to his classes. Later at school, Kagurashi meets a classmate who tells him that there's an incredibly attractive model girl in their classroom named Miyazaki Chisaki. While he's looking at her, Yuuna starts inspecting her clothes, so Kagurashi rushes to stop her. As he gets near, Yuuna lifts her skirt, and everyone thinks Kagurashi did it, but the poor man was just trying to stop Yuuna. Seeing people getting angry at Kagurashi, Yuuna panics and uses her powers out of habit, making everyone float. Suddenly, the teacher rushes into the classroom and starts scolding the students. Later, the teacher asks everyone to introduce themselves. Kagurashi reveals that he is an exorcist and apologizes for what happened earlier, telling that it was done by a good ghost with him. He also offers to help them if they have any problems with any supernatural phenomenon. However, everyone in the class laughs at him as they do not believe him. Really, you guys were literally floating some moments ago. Later, as the school ends, Chisaki approaches Kagurashi and invites him to the back of the school to talk privately, making it seem like she's about to confess her feelings. However, she asks for his help since her plush toys are acting strangely. Being an alpha male, Kagurashi accepts her request and they go to her house while Chisaki is embarrassed since she only wanted advice, but Kagurashi insisted on helping. She fears that he might be a creep, trying to find a way to take advantage of her. Kagurashi starts investigating her room and upon finding the toys she smacks them like he is Goku, but nothing happens. He tells Yuuna to inspect them, and when one of the plushies gives her a creep look, Yuuna gets panic. Kagurashi is sent flying and somehow with anime logic he lands on Chisaki, of course in an awkward way. Chisaki gets angry and kicks him out of her house, but Kagurashi tells Yuuna that he has a plan. Later at night, Chisaki enters her room feeling bad for being too harsh on Kagurashi, but suddenly the plush toys go berserk on her and tear her clothes away. Fortunately, Kagurashi enters the room, goes in to beat them up. Kagurashi takes one of plushies to expose its inner spiritual line in the balcony. Yuuna follows the line and tracks it back to the person controlling them from a distance. After following for a bit, they finally find the person behind it. The person looks a bit threatening as he challenges Kagurashi to a fight, so he tells the girl to hide behind him. The creepy person throws a leaf at him and summons a massive monster that appears to be powerful. He then orders the monster to attack Kagurashi, but Kagurashi defeats the monster easily. I never expected him to be that strong. The enemy reveals her true form, and somehow I am not surprised to see a young girl with ears like Teddy from Mr. Bean. The girl starts crying and tells everyone her name is Koyuzu Shigaraki. She's a Furina, which is kind of like a magical person from a faraway village. She was left all alone when she was just a little kid. Koyuzu shares that in her village, when Furinas learn the special trick to change how they look, they have to say goodbye to their home and go live with humans. Koyuzu has this big dream, and it's to have big talents just like Chisaki's, which is not a good dream for a child. She thought that was the best way to get them, that's why she used Chisaki's plushies to spy on her. After listening to this, Chisaki feeling super sad since she thought Kagurashi was going to send her away with his powers, but Kagurashi assures her that he's not going to do that. He also makes a promise to Koyuzu that he won't harm her in any way. Chisaki's heart melts, and she forgives Koyuzu for what she did, and Koyuzu takes that forgiveness and checks out Chisaki's talents. The next day, as Yuuna and Kagurashi are walking to school, they bump into Chisaki. She's super grateful for Kagurashi's help the other day, so she hands him some homemade cookies as a thank you gift. She's also curious about Koyuzu, and Kagurashi lets her know that he found a spot for Koyuzu at the inn, and she will be hanging out there for a little while. Yuuna jumps into the conversation and tells Kagurashi that she's decided not to go to school with him anymore. She's worried that if she sticks around, she might cause some trouble for him. Some days later, something strange happens in the town. There's this weird creature with a furry mouth that starts flying around at night, gobbling up people's hair. It's all fun and games until Sajiri shows up to deal with the monster. She's got some secret technique up her sleeve called the evening late autumn shower. Sajiri throws these ninja-like kunais, and the monster just disintegrates into thin air. After saving the day, Sejiri gets on the phone to report the mission's status to someone. The person on the other end assigns her a brand new mission, and it's a big one. They say she needs the help of none other than Kagurashi himself. The following day, Kagurashi and Yuna are making their way through the school corridors when they bump into Sejiri, who's just standing there looking out the window. Yuna whispers to Kagurashi that Sejiri is also a student at their school. All of a sudden, another student sneaks up from behind and spills the beans to Kagurashi that Sejiri's not just any student. She's also in first year and the most desired one in her class. However, she's not exactly the favorite among many because of her man-hating nature. Out of the blue, Sejiri spots Kagurashi, and it totally shocks the nearby students when she calls him over and suggests they head to the rooftop for a one-on-one chat. Once they're up there, the atmosphere feels like she's about to ask him out. But nope, she gets straight to the point and asks him to join her on a really dangerous mission. Sejiri also concludes that Yuna can't come with them as the mission can be dangerous for her. Kagurashi nods and they decide to meet up outside a mall. As he's hanging around, Kagurashi catches wind of some guys giving a girl a hard time. He jumps in to lend a hand, but turns out the girl's already handled the situation on her own. When Kagurashi takes a better look, he realizes the tough girl is none other than Sejiri. After that little surprise, they agree to head over to the local park, but before they do, Sejiri gives him some everyday clothes to change into. The whole reason they're going to the park is to track down this sneaky monster that's been causing trouble there. This creature's been using some kinds of smog at couples and leaving them without their clothes. Now this is a fun activity to do as a single on Valentine's Day. With that, Kagurashi and Sejiri hatch this plan where they will act like they're dating to draw out the monster. They figure if they look all lovey-dovey, the monster will want to come out and mess with them. With their plan set, they start strolling through the park, acting all couple-like, but nothing's happening. As they're walking, Sejiri admits that the clothes she's wearing feel weird to her, and she starts thinking maybe she's not feminine enough to grab the monster's attention. Kagurashi, trying to be helpful, throws out the idea that maybe they should hold hands or hook arms to really sell the couple vibe. This suggestion gets Sejiri all flustered and a bit annoyed. But she's all about getting the job done, so she goes along with it. Surprisingly, it works and a fog rolls in melting their clothes. Sejiri is quick on her feet and jumps up a light pole to save her outfit, while Kagurashi is left scrambling around in pretty much just his pants, trying to spot the monster. He can't find it, so he decides to just punch the mist away, just like All Might did it. Once Kagurashi deals his powerful punch, the sneaky mist starts to fade away, and a huge spider that's been causing all the trouble in the park appears. Sejiri, with her exorcist skills, whips out her special kunai and throws at the monster. She does her thing, and the spider's spirit gets all purified. As soon as she's done with her exorcist magic, the mist that's been causing all the drama finally goes away for good. But with the mist gone, it leaves Sejiri and Kagurashi in a bit of a problem. Once they are back at the house, everyone is having lunch and being grateful to Chitos for making such good food for them. Chitos announces that she's leaving for a hot spring guild for 3 days. However, none of the others know how to cook, and they had scheduled shifts for cooking. The first one to cook is Yea, who presented cat canned food, and then Nanko, who served them potato chips, cookies, and sake. But finally they get to see something good eat when Yuna makes them dinner. But when they take a bite from it, made them puke as she mistook vinegar for cooking sake and soy sauce with cola. Sejiri steps in to save the day, but the ninja ends up making something that resembles Grimer from Pokemon. Eventually, finally a day comes when they get to eat normal food, and it's surprisingly made by Kagurashi, who reveals that he was once possessed by a master chef and saves the day with his excellent cooking skills. Yea is particularly impressed and follows Kagurashi everywhere, even into the bathroom while he's showering, and demands to wash his back. Kagurashi gets scared and turns on the shower that results in him getting to see some treasures. Later, Yea confesses that she loves his food, and he makes her a full tray of fish, which she shares with her cat god, and both become obsessed with Kagurashi's cooking. While they are at school, Chisaki comes up to Kagurashi and tells him that she wants to know more about Yuna. Kagurashi tells her that the only way to communicate with her is to be able to get on her wavelength, and for this she have to travel somewhere far away and train till near-death experience like he did as a child. Listening to this, Chisaki rejects the idea as she does not want to do anything dangerous. So for the time being, Kagurashi will be their medium. However, Kagurashi comes up with an idea after realizing that Yuna can touch anything and interact with the world physically. So he proposed they communicate with each other by writing stuff on a notebook. As they engage in a discussion, Chisaki gets in trouble with the teacher and ends up getting punishment for staying late and cleaning up the library. Later at the library, Chisaki thanks Yuna for her help. Chisaki then gets sad that she will never be able to see Yuna, but Yuna gets an idea as she makes her feel herself so that she can get an idea on how she looks. Chisaki then remembers that Yuna was trying to inspect her uniform in order to make one for herself. So as a token of gratitude, she offers Yuna to touch her clothes for analysis to appear like a regular student. Yuna hesitates a bit at first, but Chisaki tells her they both are girls, so it is okay with her. So Yuna starts inspecting her uniform a bit, but somehow the anime logic kicks in and the interaction that was supposed to be wholesome ends up as chaos for Chisaki. On the other hand, Kagurashi enters the library while looking for Yuna, and the lucky man ends up finding them in a compromising situation. Later, they make their way to the top of the building where Yuna concentrates hard and her clothes magically change into a typical Japanese school uniform. Chisaki feels a little left out since she's unable to actually see Yuna, so she comes up with a plan to take a photo with her. Yuna is hesitant at first as she's worried she might look frightening in the photo, but Chisaki reassures her, explaining that the photo is more about holding on to the happiness and the memories of that time together. Yuna decides to go for it, but when they take the picture, it only shows Yuna's spooky, ghost-like appearance. Not to worry, though, Chisaki gets to work, adding all sorts of playful filters and stickers, and she manages to create a really wholesome picture after all. In the evening, Kagurashi and Yuna meet Nanko and a tough-looking girl named Rui Harashima. Rui, who's an editor, tells them that Nanko is actually a professional manga artist when she's sober. They then go to Nanko's room, which is a bit of a mess with lots of drinks and chip bags everywhere. Rui shares that Nanko's assistant got hurt and is in the hospital, and they're really behind on their work. Nanko asks Kagurashi and Rui to pitch in with the manga, to which they agree. While they're working, Kagurashi is impressed by how focused Nanko can be. In the meantime, Rui is shocked to see his drawing skills and wonders if he is also a manga artist. Kagurashi accidentally tells her that he was once possessed by a ghost of a manga artist to take over his body, which is why he's pretty good at it. They begin to draw, but soon hit a snag. Nanko can't think of any good ideas and needs something to spark her creativity. She decides that Kagurashi will be her muse and asks him to pose for the manga. Nanko gets a little too close for comfort, and Kagurashi feels awkward with all the strange thoughts popping into his head. Despite the weirdness, he's determined to help and tries to stay strong and focused. They end up posing in some daring ways for the manga's sake, while Rui takes pictures for them to use as references. After the posing session, Nanko is really grateful to Kagurashi for his assistance. After a full night of hard work, the manga is finally finished, and Nanko decides to let loose and celebrate. She starts by pouring herself a drink. In the midst of the celebration, she shares a secret with Kagurashi that she also used to hunt monsters, just like Sejiri does. Nanko talks about how a scary near-death experience made her want to enjoy life to the fullest. As part of the celebration, she playfully pulls Kagurashi's face into her talons. However, the party is interrupted when the rest of the girls walk in. They see Kagurashi with Nanko and mistakenly think he's taking advantage of the situation. On another day, Kagurashi and Yuna leave the inn, informing Chitos that they will be late today because of some work. Listening to this, Chitos sees opportunities and sneaks into her room to wear school uniform. As she is about to leave, she sees Kagurashi coming back to fetch something he forgot. She is afraid as she does not want others to find her in her school uniform. She chants something and sends a little bit of bad luck to Kagurashi. Suddenly, a boar appears and takes away Kagurashi with him. Later, Chitos can be seen entering into a classroom where she sees two girls talking about boys. Chitos gets frustrated that the girls of this generation just think about men, but soon finds it interesting when the girls ask her about her favorite male celebrity, which is a Japanese male artist, Junmaro. Chitos' eyes light up with excitement since she's got this cool secret side to her that nobody at the inn knows about. She's kinda thrilled about it as it lets her keep her boss vibe as the manager. If the others found out, she might not be able to stay in charge like she does. Later, after classes, she is walking around the school hallways inspecting it, when suddenly an old man who appears to be the headmaster of the school talks to Chitos, saying that he never expected to see her as his student. The old man then admires her for looking like a 13-year-old even though she is much older than her age. Chitos then reveals that she was a house protection deity. But the owner of Yuragi Inn and Hot Spring Association treated her well, that's why she is able to be in school. After school, Chitos and her friends go out to eat. As they are enjoying their time, two punks get in their way and invite them to a karaoke, which the girls obviously deny. But the punks force them, so Chitos steps in and roasts them just like PewDiePie would do and calls them cheap delinquents. The punks get angry and throw Chitos' food away, but with the power of her luck she saves it. However, the punk still forces them to go on a bike ride with them, so Chitos uses her powers and gives them some bad luck. Suddenly, Kagurashi appears and tells the punks to stop. The punks do not listen and attack him, prompting Kagurashi to beat some sense into them. Kagurashi then becomes the crush of Chitos' friends. Meanwhile, Chitos is trying to hide her face. As he leaves the scene, Chitos admires him for being the same Kagurashi he is at home. After some days, Kagurashi and Yuna are standing outside of some building. Turns out few days before, while the duo was helping Chitos, Kagurashi proposes to Yuna to do various different things in order to find her lingering regrets. Yuna wonders what she wants to do, so Chitos reminds her that she wants to go places and gives them a couple tickets to some place called Unoi, given as a gift by another member of the Hot Spring Association. Kagurashi inquires about Unoi, to which Chitos informs that it's a new place and is very popular among young people. Back to the duo. Both are extremely shy as they wonder if they are on a date. As Kagurashi walks in with Yuna, the girl at the ticket counter is confused. She sees he's got tickets for two, but it looks like he's there by himself. Kagurashi tells her he's actually on a date, but the catch is, he's the only one who can see his date. While this is happening, people in line are overhearing and they start to think Kagurashi is an ugly loser. Afterwards, the duo visits Rent a Swimsuit store where Yuna asks him if he wants her to wear any of them, to which he accidentally takes out a rather short one. Although, Yuna hesitates at first, but we get to see some fan service. Later, both Kagurashi and Yuna visit a restaurant to try something, but as everyone thinks that Kagurashi is alone, he has to face embarrassment. Moreover, Yuna sees a water slide and asks Kagurashi to take one with her. Yuna decides to go first, but as she slides down, her treasure protectors flies away because of the wind. Add to the chaos, Kagurashi also comes following, and both end up in compromising situations once again. One day, two girls come up to a man named Genshiru Ryuga and ask him to click a picture of them. But the man's delusional level is so high that he thought the girls are hitting on him, but suddenly he let them go when his servant Aburo Shinto chops some sense into him. In the meantime, another day starts with Kagurashi somehow getting into a compromising situation with Yuna and ends up getting thrown outside through a window. Afterwards, Yuna is embarrassed to keep throwing Kagurashi outside while the other girls try to console her. Yuna then goes to Kagurashi while he is having breakfast with Koyuzu. Koyuzu then tells Kagurashi that she has some outside chores to do, so she will be taking Yuna with her. Kagurashi allows it as he also has some work to do. Back to that freak. He literally trying to wife up every girl he sees, but Aburo stops him as he needs to not only find himself a beautiful wife, but someone with higher spiritual power than ordinary humans. As they are searching, they come across Koyuzu and Yuna. Upon noticing her, Ryuga suddenly blushes and rushes towards her. He stops them and asks her name, but Yuna reminds Koyuzu to not talk to strangers. Ryuga gets furious and tells Yuna that he is talking to her, while Yuna finds it surprising as he can see her without any problem. Ryuga gets closer to Yuna and grabs her arms. Yuna gets all embarrassed and her powers kick in, sending that freak flying into the nearby stream. Watching this, Ryuga gets happy and activates his powers as he floats back up while drying his soaked kimono. He takes approval from Aburo and tells Yuna that she is going to be his bride as he will be taking her with him. Yuna gets all embarrassed again and tells her that she is a ghost, but Ryuga does not care. Yuna uses her powers again, but this time it does not affect him a bit. Seeing this, Koyuzu tells Ryuga to stop as Yuna is going to be Kagurashi's bride. After listening to this, Ryuga gets angry and decides to take Yuna with her. Koyuzu tries to stop them by throwing a leaf at them, but Aburo stops it and tries to kill Koyuzu for disrespecting Ryuga. However, she stops when Yuna tells her to. Suddenly, a portal opens up and they prepare to leave while Koyuzu tells them that Kagurashi will come to beat them and save Yuna from them, but it's soon revealed that Ryuga is a dragon god and they threaten to kill Kagurashi if he tries to stop their wedding. Later in the evening, while on their way back home, Kagurashi and Sajiri spots Koyuzu crying and she tells them everything that happened. After listening to this, Sajiri says that Ryuga is from the Dragon Clan and for Chuma Ninja Association they are equal to God because of their powers. However, Kagurashi does not care about it and stands up to save Yuna. Koyuzu also shrinks herself so she can help them, although Sajiri is hesitant at first but decides to go anyways. In the meantime, Ryuga and Aburo have finally arrived at their palace where Ryuga introduces Yuna to his servant as his soon-to-be wife. Afterwards, Ryuga is all alone with Yuna and forces her to wear some clothes and admires her, but all fun and games until Aburo appears. Yuna tries to make them understand that she does not want to marry Ryuga, but after they tell her that Kagurashi might be happier without her. Back at the Yuna's rescue team, Kagurashi and Sajiri are walking until they find a dead end. Sajiri uses her kunai and removes the barriers, and it shows a way that leads towards Ryuga's palace. As the group sneaks into the enemy's territory, Sajiri transforms her outfit into a somewhat tight outfit. As they are discussing their plan to rescue Yuna, one of the guards hears the voices and becomes suspicious, but however he didn't give it much thought. Unfortunately, Koyuzu sneezes, prompting Sajiri to quickly take out the guard. Sajiri, Koyuzu separate their way with Kagurashi, as they are planning to quickly analyze the whole palace while taking out some guards. Meanwhile, Kagurashi has a different plan as he goes in front of Ryuga's palace and calls him out with different slangs until he is captured by guards and presented in front of Ryuga. Ryuga is furious and wants to finish off Kagurashi right there. However, Kagurashi asks him how he intends to marry and have a child with Yuna as she is a human ghost. Ryuga explains that since ancient times, children have been born from the coupling between dragons and other races, regardless of whether it's in a physical form or not. Ryuga then asks Kagurashi how far he has gone with Yuna. At first, he doesn't understand, but when Ryuga implies romantic involvement, Kagurashi denies any kissing. Ryuga sighs in relief. Seeing this, Kagurashi seizes the opportunity to distract Ryuga, allowing Sajiri and Koyuzu to rescue Yuna. He then teases Ryuga by stating that they haven't kissed but have gone much further than that. Ryuga gets frustrated and continues to press for answers. At that moment, Yuna tries to look outside as she believes that she heard Kagurashi's voice. Suddenly, Sajiri arrives with the Koyuzu to rescue Yuna. As they are about to rescue Yuna, Oboro appears from behind and launches a surprise attack on Sajiri from behind that should have shattered her spine, but thanks to her spirit suit she's wearing, the attack has no effect. Sajiri then begins to fight Oboro by using her ninja techniques, but that does not affect Oboro as she proves to be even stronger. In the end, Sajiri is left defeated. Fortunately, Yuna helps Koyuzu to sneak away from danger. Ryuga continues to tease Kagurashi, but Oboro steps in and introduces Sajiri to Ryuga, who falls in love with her at first sight and accepts her as his future wife. Yuna then steps up and begs Ryuga to let her friends go and she will do anything and will become the bride of the Ryuga clan. Yuna also tells Kagurashi to take everyone and leave her behind. Listening to this, Ryuga gets happy, but Kagurashi, being a tall and handsome guy, keeps taunting Ryuga and tells him that he took a bath with Yuna. Eventually, this makes Ryuga extremely angry. He gets closer to Kagurashi and unleashes his full power. In that moment, Ryuga delivers a powerful kick to Kagurashi, sending him flying. The poor soul gets hit with that place's ceiling. As he falls back to the ground, everyone assumes that he is dead. However, Kagurashi surprisingly gets up with determination in his eyes, stating that he won't allow him to take away his friends. Everyone standing there laughs as no one believes that this loser can take on a god. But, in the blink of an eye, the power of friendship kicks in and Kagurashi goes into serious mode like Saitama, delivering a powerful punch that knocks out the god and sends him flying away. It turns out that Kagurashi was once possessed by the most powerful exorcist and learned everything he knows. The only problem for him is that he can't hit women since it's a rule he follows when fighting. Oboro then remembers Ryuga's past and how her mother made her his protector. As Kagurashi attacks her, she realizes that she does not stand a chance in front of his punches. Despite Oboro's revelation and subsequent attack, Kagurashi's principles prevent him from fighting a girl and he freezes. However, his durable body withstands Oboro's fierce strikes without any damage. Bro gonna claim he's been possessed by Goku. Out of nowhere, Nanko and Ye arrive and intervene to help them. Nanko stops Oboro's sword with just one hand. The girls tell them that Koyuzu leads them into the palace, concluding that Chitos also wanted to come but someone had to stay to look after the inn. Kagurashi then asks Oboro to stop Ryuga and let his friends live in peace. As they were talking, they came up with an idea to create illusions to make Ryuga believe that both Yuna and Sajiri were human souls and are ascending to heaven, as they do not have any regret left because of getting love from him. Ryuga falls for it and everyone goes home happily. The following day, Kagurashi wakes up. He feels some soft treasures and gets scared that Yuna again got into his futon, but it turns out that Oboro got into his futon. Turns out, she wants to have children with him. She wishes to strengthen their clan, and for that, she needs to have children with a super strong man capable of defeating their god. A few days later, the lovely Chisaki makes her way to the inn for a weekend stay, just like she told Yuna that she would be back at school. When she gets there, she walks in on Oboro trying to charm Kagurashi with her riz. Chisaki jumps to her usual conclusion, thinking Kagurashi is up to his old tricks again. This misunderstanding works out though, because it puts Oboro off and she decides to leave. Then, out of nowhere, Koyuzu and Yuna pop up, giving Chisaki a warm and friendly greeting. Once they clear up the mix-up, Kagurashi starts to get ready for a trip to pick up a fresh uniform and decides he's going to stick around overnight since he's got a night shift coming up. Chisaki gets to meet everyone at the inn, and she even pitches in to help Chitos with the evening meal. She impresses every girl with her amazing Italian cooking skills, especially being able to tame Ye with her Italian fish. Afterward, they decide to take a hot bath together. While taking a bath, they discuss some girly stuff, while Oboro asks Chisaki to tell her a better way to riz Kagurashi. At first, Chisaki questions her intentions and she says that she just wants to have a child with Kagurashi and nothing more. Meanwhile, Sajiri can be seen getting jealous because of her feminine vibes. Later, they go to Yuna's room where the Koyuzu also joins them for sleep. Koyuzu makes them discuss romantic topics, and she shows how she can transform into an adult with some great assets. The girls tell her that she's too young to think about such things, but Koyuzu mentions that she learned it all from Nanko books. As Chisaki gets ready to sleep, she experiences a moment of sleep paralysis. feeling a bit trapped but not too worried. Luckily, she notices that it's just Yuna who has sneaked into her futon. Chisaki tries to make herself comfortable, but the trouble sleeper Yuna keeps messing around. Then, just as she's about to settle in, Kagurashi unexpectedly arrives early. He does not notice Chisaki sleeping and quickly goes to change into his sleeping yukata and lays down the futon next to Chisaki. Chisaki feels flustered but does not know what to do. Yuna, still there, ends up accidentally dropping her yukata and her treasure lands on Kagurashi's face. As she is about to get up, Yuna takes off her kimono and she somehow ends up on Kagurashi's face, an achievement that you guys can never achieve. Chisaki immediately gets up and acts like she is sleeping. Kagurashi suddenly wakes up and, being a gentleman he is, does not react much and just makes sure that Chisaki is tucked in comfortably. Oboro sneaks into the room and gets on top of Kagurashi and asks him to do the deed with her. Meanwhile, Chisaki, who is in blanket, remembers that her mother told her that every man is wolf and they would do it with anyone if given a chance. But Kagurashi shows his Sigma side and tells Oboro that he only plans to do spicy things with a girl he truly falls in love with. Chisaki, upon hearing that, confirms that Kagurashi is not a creep and Yuna is the one who parades around rizzing him. The night passes and Chisaki bids farewell to the inn. Before leaving, she asks Yuna to bring her notebook. As she departs, Chisaki warns Yuna to be less creep while sleeping, suggesting that Kagurashi might struggle to control himself otherwise. The following day, Sajiri goes to her usual place to meditate, where she spots Oboro meditating as well. After meditation, Oboro tries to talk to Sajiri, but she shakes it off by saying that she still hasn't accepted her. Oboro says that it's fair because they tried to kill each other at some point, but she goes on to telling her about her interaction with Kagurashi, to which Sajiri scolds her a bit time and tells her to learn some human ethics. Listening to this, Oboro ponders human ethics and inquires about Sajiri's experiences with guys. Sajiri reveals that whenever a guy tries to talk to her, he immediately runs away because of her tough personality. Oboro mentions that she was considering asking for someone pretty like Sajiri for help, but decides she will look elsewhere. When Sajiri hears the word pretty, she becomes extremely happy, realizing that was the moment Oboro accepted her. Later, while entering the inn, Oboro spots Yaya on the roof and asks for her advice, to which she replies that the only way she knows to make a guy like someone is to make them a good meal. So Oboro gets to work in the kitchen with Chitos to make food for Kagurashi, and she is even able to make some delicious food, but the plan doesn't go well when she destroys the whole kitchen with her brute strength. Later, she goes back to the Dragon Realm to visit Ryuga, where she even asks guards about it, but the advice is not very applicable in the human world. So she goes to Nanko to take some advice, as she believes to be the love guru, but Nanko gets frustrated and tells her that the men only like her for her big treasure and nothing more. Afterwards, Oboro also takes advice from Yuna, and the only result she comes up with is to increase her riz with Kagurashi to make him fall for her. In school, the boys plan a beach trip, sparking Sajiri's worry about her swimsuit. Her friend Urara, a fellow ninja, suggests getting a stylish suit to flex her talents. Urara wants Kagurashi's opinion and admires his feat of defeating a god with a single punch. When Kagurashi decides to join the trip, he brings Yuna along too. While they're all getting ready, Kagurashi talks about some of the scary things he's faced at the beach, like monsters and spirits bothering him. As Sajiri bravely knocks on the door, Kagurashi steps out with the expectation of assisting her in swimsuit shopping. To his surprise, Sajiri reveals a troubling report from her association about a monster lurking in the store. Despite his confusion, Kagurashi agrees to join her in confronting the creature instead of pursuing their original plan of swimsuit shopping. The next day, while they're walking to the store, they bump into Urara. She introduces herself and also reveals to Kagurashi that she's also a ninja from Chuma Group. Kagurashi then asks her about the status of the monster at the store, to which Urara also plays along with Sajiri's line. Later, when they reach the store, they have a lot of fun trying on swimsuits. Sajiri tries one that looks like a prisoner's outfit, but her friend convinces her to try on some more exciting ones. Inside the dressing room, they start arguing, which leads to some funny moments and Kagurashi accidentally seeing them in a very compromising situation. In the end, they purchase their swimsuits, and Sajiri chooses the one that Kagurashi said looked very nice on her. The moment of the trip arrives, and on the bus, Yuna is excited, with her notebooks ready to chat with Chisaki. One of Chisaki's friends sees this and becomes convinced that ghosts exist, so she introduces herself as Sari Yanazawa, and both of them become friends with Yuna. Suddenly, the boys keep teasing, claiming that it's just a cheap magic trick by Kagurashi. Come on, there is a literally floating book in front of you guys. Once they reach the beach, Urara and Sajiri appeared on the beach wearing their beautiful swimming suits, but Sajiri got a bit jealous when Chisaki showed up with her more feminine vibe. However, Urara informs Sajiri that they had a special mission to take care of. There was a rumor about a monster that would expose girls while they were swimming. Determined to protect everyone, the two friends prepared themselves for the task. Meanwhile, Kagurashi and another friend joined them for a fun swim. Suddenly, out of nowhere, tentacles appeared and started attacking Chisaki and eventually got to others. Kagurashi and Sajiri quickly realize that the monster is an eel type and they have to destroy its source that is lurking deep underwater more than 300 meters down. In order to defeat it, they come up with a daring plan. Kagurashi decided to launch himself deep into the water and deliver a powerful punch to eliminate the monster once and for all. Later, Chisaki and tell other guys about it and they laugh it off saying that Kagurashi is fooling them by doing tricks. This makes Chisaki extremely furious, but she comes up with an idea to make other students respect Kagurashi. Chisaki plans to make pairs of students and send them deep into the forest. Moreover, if any monster or ghost appears, Kagurashi will help them and the students will tell others about it. At night, the teacher pair up students and Chisaki's plan takes an unexpected turn when she ends up paired with Kagurashi. While walking in the forest, Chisaki twists her ankle. Being the gentleman he is, Kagurashi carries her on his back. Deeper into the forest, they encounter what seems to be a ghost, but it turns out to be Yuna, who is afraid of ghosts despite being one herself. The trio decided to take some rest on a rock nearby, but suddenly Urara does something evil that causes Sajiri to fall straight on Kagurashi's face. I envy this guy. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the forest, a powerful purple tornado appears, giving rise to a massive evil creature that threatens some innocent students. Turns out, the monster woke up because some students accidentally broke a magical seal while playing with a stone. The creature wanted to eat the students as a way to thank them for waking him up. But then Kagurashi suddenly appeared and used his arms to stop the monster from harming the students. The creature thinks that Kagurashi might be offering his arm as a sacrifice, but when it tries to bite his arm, its own fangs break. The creature quickly steps away. But something unexpected happened as Kagurashi bows his head and apologizes. Moreover, he also asks other students to bow as well for awakening the demon and promise they won't disturb his sleep again. Bro has no enemies. The beast agrees as it realizes that Kagurashi is a much stronger exorcist than the person who sealed it and goes back to sleep, not wanting to mess with Kagurashi. As they seal it again, the young students are convinced that Kagurashi is an exorcist. On their way back, Chisaki confides in Kagurashi about her plan. However, Kagurashi reassures her that it doesn't matter if anyone believes in him as long as she does. After the drama, the girls relax at the hot springs. Following the hot springs, they decide to spend more time together and choose the girls' dorm room for a card game. However, there's a catch. The teachers strictly prohibit boys from entering the girls' dorm. However, not a problem for Kagurashi though, as he easily sneaks in through the window without any trouble. I bet he is going to claim he was possessed by Spider-Man before now. When they are all inside, a teacher approaches, making them panic. They quickly hide under the futons. Kagurashi finds himself surrounded by fluffiness, which is awkward. Yuna, feeling nervous, struggles to control her powers, which tend to act up when she is stressed. Just as the teacher was about to discover them, Kagurashi, ever the quick thinker, pulled Yuna into a hug to keep her from moving. But that set off her powers big time, and suddenly everything in the room started floating. Kagurashi didn't miss a beat and grabbed his friend, and they made a daring escape right back out the window. Meanwhile, the girls tell the teacher that they were just pranking her. The next day is the big bonfire dance, and Yuna feels a mix of excitement and sadness. She really wants to join in but feels hesitant. However, Kagurashi, being supportive as always, encourages her not to worry about what others think. He is ready to dance with her, no matter what. Ignoring the whispers, Kagurashi takes Yuna's hand for a dance, seeing her true beauty. As exams loom, everyone is busy studying. Yuna, eager to help, decides to cook a meal for her friends. All the ingredients are ready, each one labeled clearly. Oboro really likes Kagurashi, but he hasn't noticed her yet, so she teams up with Koyuzu, who knows a lot about potions. Together, they make a love potion to put in Yuna's food. But things get crazy when Nanko almost eats the food with the potion in it, and Oboro forgets which one it is. By a twist of fate, Sajiri eats the snack with potion in it and becomes super cuddly, making bold moves on Kagurashi, asking for hugs and cute nicknames. But when the potion's effect wears off, she's embarrassed, fearing she's made a bad impression on her crush by being too forward. As the holiday season winds down, the girls make plans for individual adventures. Sajiri heads back to her village. Koyuzu stays over at Chisaki's place. Chitos goes on a relaxing hot spring getaway, and Yaya immerses herself in a festival. Meanwhile, Nanko, Oboro, Yuna, and Kagurashi stay behind to look after the inn, ensuring everything runs smoothly while their friends are away. The well-endowed Nanko asks for help to create a manuscript for her manga as quickly as possible, with the reward being a trip to a private beach that Nanko owns. With Kagurashi there, the girls are loving the extra attention, and he lends a hand with sunscreen on their backs. But when Yuna's turn comes up, she's super nervous and by accident, she sends Kagurashi flying. That is when he spots a girl on a cliffside. There's a legend about her that's pretty heartbreaking. It all started with a girl who was being pressured into marrying a guy she didn't want to. She was actually in love with someone else, but her family didn't approve at all. So they decided to bolt, with plans to meet on that cliff and escape to someplace far away where they could be together. But fate was cruel. Her true love met with a terrible accident near the cliff and never made it to her, leaving her to wait on that cliff, all alone, forever. Kagurashi learns of this super sad story and decides he's gonna help out. He and Yuna head over to chat with the ghosts. They run into Ami, the ghost girl from the cliff. She's stuck there, like she's tied to the spot, unable to leave. Then there's her boyfriend, Yasuhisa, who's in the same boat, but stuck where he had his accident. After talking to both of them, Kagurashi tries to persuade Yasuhisa to make amends. However, Yasuhisa feels really bad about what happened to Ami and is too scared to meet her. He believes Ami will be furious with him because he feels like he let her down. Kagurashi tells him to stop being a coward and go to see her since she misses him. Yasuhisa still hesitates, and Kagurashi leaves to talk to Yuna, and they decide to use force if necessary. Kagurashi is ready to get serious and kinda push Ami to go meet Yasuhisa. Yasuhisa wants to stop Kagurashi, but some ghostly power is holding him back. But you know what? He loves Ami so much that he fights through that power. It's tough, but he manages to break free so he can finally go see her. And yeah, she's pretty mad and lets him have it. But after that, they just hug it out. Upon seeing this, Kagurashi gets curious and asks Yuna about her life story. Yuna informs him that she got no clue, she just woke up here one day. She doesn't remember her life before the inn or what her unfinished business might be. Chidos is the one who named her Yuna when she found her there. Despite not knowing her past, Yuna is pretty chill and happy because of all the good times and friends she's made at the inn. But here's the thing, Yuna is stuck as a ghost who can't move on. And that's a big puzzle for Kagurashi. He's even having bad dreams about her. There's this worry that if Yuna doesn't figure out her regrets, she might turn into an evil ghost, and then others might come after her. Kagurashi does not want that to happen, so he makes a promise to stick with her and help her find peace and move on. Thanks for watching till this long, my fellow men of culture. Comment Riz if you guys also want ghosts like Yuna to appear in your room, and hit that subscribe button for more plot-filled recaps.